how many years ago was your mother diagnosed?
My mom was diagnosed about 8 years ago. I would say a few years before that, 3 years before that, she started repeating herself. My grandparents, both of her parents, unfortunately had Alzheimer's. So once she started repeating herself, things unfortunately were a little too familiar for us. And I think we were all in a bit of denial for a few years, as anyone would be. And then it became so apparent we had to send her to the doctor.
And how did you feel when she was first diagnosed? Do you remember kind of the thought process that you went through?
I mean, when before she was diagnosed, I was dreading it. And then when the diagnosis came, it was, no less than devastation. I was at a point in my life where I thought I would be becoming best friends with my mom. And it was becoming that way. But just as that was starting, I started to lose her slowly and painfully, as Alzheimer's does with our loved ones. And I felt very angry for a long time, a number of years. And then one day, we just had the opportunity to become part of the Alzheimer's Association and to start using our voices. And that's given me a much needed perspective shift and a lot of hope, and really has made me feel so much more in control of something that I thought I had no control over.
Right. And one of the things that I think is a bit unique about the campaign that you guys are running is that you're really looking to engage young people, and a lot of advocacy hasn't really been geared towards young people. So why is it important for you to do that?
Yeah, well, for me, I was diagnosed, much younger than I ever, my mom was diagnosed and I was so much younger than I ever thought I would be when I was dealing with it. Alzheimer's is considered an old person's disease, but it's not. It affects the entire family of the person who's diagnosed. And so for us, it was about making young people feel like they had a voice in the disease, a voice in the movement, and to make them feel less alone, because when people feel like they're part of something, they're more likely to lean on the government and to really, start a movement, like I said. And so for us, it was about, reaching out to my own generation.
Mm-hmm. And either of you can jump in on this. Why should young people care?
You want to take it?
Sure. Well, it's just incredibly important to raise awareness. Young people should care today. 500,000 people in Canada have the disease currently. Over the next 20 years, that number is going to triple. So it's a disease that is reaching epidemic proportions. And when someone's diagnosed, they can last for 10, 20 years with the disease. And so it has a devastating effect on families. And so it not only impacts the person who has the disease, but it has a tremendous impact, like Lauren's situation, on the family members around them. And when you have a loved one who has Alzheimer's disease, it is an all-encompassing 24/7 job, and it takes away from other important aspects of your life, not to mention work. And so it's really, really important for young people to be aware, raise a level of awareness. We have to eradicate this disease, and that's a big part of the effort here. But until there is a cure, then we have to care for the people who have the disease, but also take care of the people who are caring for their loved ones.
Absolutely. Lauren, one thing we noticed is that in the campaigns, you and especially Seth stick a lot to your own kind of brand of comedy. So there are jokes about smoking weed and jokes about prom night. And lots of Alzheimer's advocacy up till now has been pretty square. So why was it important for you guys not to kind of sanitize those jokes?
I think for us it's pretty impossible to do anything without adding some humor into it. We're both comedy writers, so I don't think we could actually do it being totally serious. But the truth is, and this is something my mom really, I think hammered into me, I guess when my grandparents were sick, but that sometimes when something is so sad, you just have to laugh. And so for us, Alzheimer's is a disease that is, like I said, so devastating. Why do we need to focus on the devastating part all the time? Maybe we can have a night like the variety show we throw that is full of laughter. Maybe we can throw events that excite people instead of reminding them of the depressing situation that they're living in every day. Maybe we can create something that excites people to get involved. And so that's what we try to do with Hilarity for Charity. It's just a natural part of who we are. Like I said, we couldn't do it without the hilarity, I think.
Absolutely. And when are you guys actually going to be launching your dementia care relief program?
Well, people can apply now by going to helpforalzheimersfamilies.ca, and they can apply for grants today.
And who will qualify for these grants?
You can just go to the site, helpforalzheimersfamilies.ca, and all the information you need to know about how you can qualify for a grant are contained on the website.
Mm-hmm. And how many families are you hoping that it will serve in the first year, for example?
I mean, the goal is to help as many families as we possibly can. Of course, we sadly won't be able to help everyone. The disease is just too vast to be able to do that. But, you know, hopefully over the years we'll be able to raise even more money, and the more money we get, the more people we can help.
And on top of the money that we raised, the Homestead Senior Care Network has generously donated close to $1 million of free care on top of the money that we're going to raise. So we can touch even more lives that way.
And I know that the information is on the website, but just for our readers to get it all in one place, what will it entail? What makes up the program?
The application process or the program itself?
The program itself. What is? Can you give me like a short summary of what the program does?
Sure. Do you want to take that or should I?
Well, people will apply for a grant, and if they're awarded a grant, then Homestead Senior Care will send a caregiver into the family's home to provide that much-needed relief that family caregivers just so desperately need.
Mm-hmm. And why is there a need for initiatives like this?
You know, when someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it starts out, you know, in things like being confused and forgetting little things. But that period of time only lasts for so long, and after that, you know, someone forgets how to walk, how to talk, how to chew, how to swallow, how to dress themselves, how to go to the bathroom, how to clean themselves. And so the amount of care that is needed is so extreme that the effect on loved ones, it makes them have to quit their jobs. They can lose their jobs. They themselves get sick. The emotional stress, the physical stress. My mother is, you know, she's essentially like a 130-pound baby at this point. They need to lift her. You know, it's a truly, truly all-encompassing disease that you can't care for someone alone. It's too much, and people need help.
Mm-hmm. And are there any gaps in healthcare that you're hoping to kind of fill with a program like this? Because I think that a lot of people do have trouble getting access to care sometimes. Yeah.
You know, in the States, you know, our social services are unfortunately quite lacking. And so for us, it's about, you know, giving people something that they can't get from their government, and you know, but just in general, it's an extraordinary expense on anyone to have quality in-home care, and we want to alleviate some of that stress for the people who can't quite afford it.
Yeah. And how has your own experience contributed to building a program like this and being involved in a program like this?
I mean, my own experience, I've you know, unfortunately seen firsthand just how devastating the disease can be, and it only fuels my fire to keep going until there's an end. You know, I was with my mother yesterday, and it is so astounding that someone who taught first grade for 35 years, who taught children to read and write, can, you know, no longer walk or talk or make eye contact or eat on her own or dress herself, and that's not right. She's 63 years old. Like, she should have had a beautiful retirement with her husband instead of, you know, him caring for her daily.
It's amazing that people like you are stepping up and are making these changes.
I have no choice. It's an honor to do it.
A third kind of prong to the awareness that you guys are raising is going into universities with the Hilarity for Charity U. Have you found that there's a big uptake there? What has the participation been like?
Oh man, so we launched HFCU last spring for the college spring semester, January through April, and it was overwhelming. We had, I think, close to 200 campuses that participated. We raised close to $130,000. It was so phenomenal. A great, the Pikes at University of Vermont were the winners, and Seth went there and visited and hung out with them for an afternoon. They got to see Neighbors before it came out in theaters, And it's amazing, you know, young people, they are touched by this disease. It is not just an old person's disease. It affects everyone in the family of someone who is diagnosed. And so young people, they want to do something. They want to get involved. And so HFCU is a great way for them to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you had said that there was no way that you could do it without comedy, but what makes comedy a particularly good medium for you, besides the fact that you both are hilarious and love joking around?
You know, Alzheimer's is just, it's such a sad, depressing, devastating disease. And so when something is so sad, you just have to laugh. And we want to provide people who are facing the sadness of this disease every day with an outlet to feel some relief and feel some happiness in a really sad situation.
Mm-hmm. And for either of you, what advice could you give caregivers who are reading this now in Toronto?
I would say reach out, get educated, help yourself, and connect with other people. From our experience, and Lauren's personal story is incredibly compelling to us, but it's also incredibly familiar to us at Homestead Senior Care because we see this every day. In fact, we see it thousands and thousands of times every day. We're around all around the world. Today we'll be in about 70,000 homes providing care for clients, and about 60% of those of our clients have Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia. So and most of that care, 70% of people who have the disease are cared for at home, placing an incredible burden on family members. And so from our experience, most people don't even identify as a caregiver, don't realize that gradually they're slipping more and more into this role of caregiver. And as Lauren mentioned, it can become all-encompassing. And so my advice for family caregivers is to reach out, get some help, connect with others. Go to helpforalzheimersfamilies.ca where there are all kinds of resources, links. There's an app you can download, and just understand and research and reach out more than anything.
All right. And Laura, did you want to jump in on that at all? Or?
I mean, you know, I think for me, the best thing that I've done is to share my story and to connect with other people. And so, you know, for me, I think anyone who's out there that feels alone, you shouldn't be afraid to tell someone what you're going through, because chances are they will understand and you'll be able to provide support for each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with us. We're really excited that we got to do that.
Thank
the program
you.
that you're launching is amazing, and we're so happy that you were willing to share your personal story.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.